Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to From the Depths of Music Cargo. Now, this is the first ever tutorial that I'm doing, and honestly, I wasn't planning on doing this. However, I recently did a co-op with someone from my Discord, and in it, I was trying to help him figure out what he could do to better his chances against the lightning hoods. He was going up against the Candela over and over, and he was trying to figure out how he could avoid using submarines and still beat the lightning hoods. Now, in this co-op, I did an absolutely abysmal job explaining to him the changes I thought he should make and sort of what I thought their impact would be. So I'm literally doing this tutorial out of guilt. Sir Lycrathy, I hope this helps. Anyway, without further ado, let's go and take a look at the armor scheme that he was using. I guess there is one thing I forgot to add here, and that is some smoke dispensers. Go ahead and plop one here. I'm going to go ahead and plop two over here. Now, this was his original armor scheme. For a huge portion of the ship, it was generally one layer of metal thick. There were some exceptions. Some places were two layers of metal thick. And then sometimes it was like 1.5 like this, where there was a piece of metal on the outside that sort of sloped over. So this was the general armor scheme across the whole ship. It also had a metal beam in here and then an alloy beam over here. Now, this armor scheme is pretty strong. The one that he's got already. It's good against Hesh, and it's good against heat. It's good against explosive. It's not ideal against heavy AP, and it's not ideal against lasers, which is part of the reason he was running into problems. So if you don't know, these beams with their little spaces here, and I'm kind of trying to point out with my camera, these give an opportunity for heat and Hesh particles to pop out before they get through the whole armor layer, and that can be extremely valuable. But I'm going to show you a cool tool. If you press Z while you're not in build mode, you can go over to your utilities, and you can pick up this health and AC thing. And if we switch over to that, we can look at blocks, and we'll get this little UI thing that tells us their armor class and their health. If we take a look at this, we'll see that it is a metal beam with 40 AC. Now, the one downside to this particular armor scheme is that beams themselves don't stack up armor. Okay, so over here, or poles themselves don't confer armor stacking. Because they're not completely solid, they don't give the structural boost unless you're at really specific angles. Let's see if I can find it. Yeah, so right here I have an AC of 48, but if I move like a pixel to the left or to the right, I lose that. This armor scheme is going to give the structural boost all of the time. Anywhere I look at this block, it'll have an AC of 48, and that's a pretty big difference in armor class. Going up against lasers. Lasers are high AP weapons, and so that's why I have the damage formula over here, with some random nonsense added to it that doesn't make any sense. Let's take this away. There we go. All of that's noise. So, this is the damage formula. The amount of damage that is dealt is the base damage that base damage multiplied by the difference in armor penetration and armor class. So if you have more armor penetration than the AC, then your damage goes up. And if you have less armor penetration than the AC, then your damage drops off. And that's pretty dramatic in both directions. The Candela has a laser. Its primary offensive laser deals 5,000 damage per shot at an AC of 60. So, if we go over here and we take a look at the armor value over here, this has an AC of 40. Now, I've gone ahead and calculated it out. The laser is able to blast through all three of these blocks in its opening shot with 3,082 damage left over to hit inside past this. How did I calculate this? Well, basically, I ran the armor AC calculation along with the health for this block, and this block. So if the laser hits here, this block has an effective HP of 840, this one has an effective HP of 660, and this one has an effective HP of 418. So all of that together brings us 1918 HP the laser will blast through with its 5,000 damage, because of the fact that it has more AP than the AC of this armor setup. My suggestion was to change over to this armor setup, and to add a low strength shield. We'll get into that in a minute, but to start with, I just want to talk about the difference in damage calculation here. Over here, because this is 48 on the first block and 47 on the third block, the third one remains unchanged, we have a completely different damage calculation. We actually end up with 1260 on the first one, 1216 on the second, and still 418 on the third. That means that this armor setup has 2,894 HP against the laser, whereas this one has 1,918. So far, it's not the largest damage, but what really matters is what comes next with the shield. Before we get to the shield, I want to make one side note though. The way he had his smoke dispensers placed was one at a time, and they were placed against the outside layer of armor. I mentioned that the opening shot from the laser can destroy all three of these blocks. It has the power. So watch what happens to the smoke dispenser when I get rid of this alloy beam by destroying it with my laser. Smoke dispenser flies off the same game tick that the beam is destroyed. It doesn't get the chance to fire. And that was what was happening when we tested it against the Candela. The Candela would blast into the side of the vehicle so hard that it would often destroy the smoke dispenser that was supposed to be protecting the area the laser was shooting at before the smoke dispenser would even go off, or at least before it had a chance to make a difference. My proposed change, and I think that this goes for pretty much every vehicle, is wherever you have one smoke dispenser, you should have two, and they should be placed on separate blocks. If I had a metal beam over here with two smoke dispensers on it, and something managed to shoot all the way through and destroy it, then I would lose both of my smoke dispensers. However, if we lose this particular block, the smoke dispenser does go with it, but we still have a second one. So they are on separate blocks. There's always at least two on not the same block that's also not part of the armor scheme. This ensures that we will always, and I mean always, get at least one smoke off before our smoke dispensers are destroyed. Smokes last for 40 seconds and they persist even beyond the dispenser being destroyed, so we really just need one of them to fire once. This defensive scheme will guarantee that one of them gets to fire once. But why am I talking about the opening salvo of the laser? Surely we want to do the damage calculations once the smokes have fired. No, I want to talk about the importance of a shield here. So, I'm going to crank this shield up to its absolute maximum size, and I want you to see that a strength 1 shield reduces laser AP by 35%. Against the lightning hoods on my craft, personally, I always aim to have at least a strength 2 shield. That's my personal favorite, so it's just what I use. I'm going to run through the damage calculation on the new armor scheme with a strength 2 shield. No smoke, just the strength 2 shield. This is going to reduce the laser AP by 49%. Over here, the effective hit points against the laser, so the amount of damage it'll do past their armor class, goes to 2,285 on this first block, 2,268 on the second block, 1,627 on the third block. Now, why does that matter? Because the laser only deals 5,000 damage. We have a total of 6,180 HP left over. This light alloy block will still be here after getting hit with the 5,000 damage laser. Whereas in this damage setup, with no shield, there was 3,000 damage left over to deal damage to whatever internals were just beyond here. That's how big of a difference the shield can make against the opening salvo. Once the smokes kick in and the actual AP of the laser is reduced down to 20%, this double thick layer of metal will be able to hold much, much longer. But that's how big of a difference a low strength shield can make. And this shield isn't even particularly efficient. It's maxed up on both of its width and both of its height, which is completely unnecessary. It's also worth noting that lasers lose damage over distance, so you're not even going to have a full 5,000 damage coming at you. Anyway, I've been Zacargo, and this has been my first ever tutorial video. I know I covered a number of things from the armor scheme to how lasers work. I know I covered Bleh. Anyway, that's been my first ever tutorial video. I know I covered a number of different things, but I tried to aim towards explaining the outcome of the interaction. I don't want to focus just on the maths, and I know there's going to be a lot of engineers out there who are like, you need to focus on the maths. No, you don't, okay? You need to focus on the difference in the outcome. What matters is not the total HP, it's whether or not all the blocks get destroyed, whether or not your armor stops what's coming at you. Fights are almost never clean, so doing all of the math in a clean environment of just the numbers is never an accurate depiction. Sure, your math can be correct, but that doesn't mean that you've properly explained what's actually happening. So I hope that you guys will just take the explanation for what it is. Adding a low strength shield and slightly changing your armor scheme can be the difference between your armor getting completely one-shot and your internals taking 3,000 damage, or your armor holding, your smoke dispensing, and your internals staying completely intact. I hope this tutorial has helped other people sort of understand, and I hope it serves you all well when facing off against the lightning hoods. So that's going to be the end of the tutorial. If you guys like the tutorial and you want me to do more, maybe you think I'm good at explaining things. I didn't say that, but maybe some of you will say that. And maybe you want me to explain some more stuff. In the session I did with this guy, helping him with his craft, we also focused a lot on PIDs, and I think I could do a pretty decent job explaining them. So if you want to see a tutorial on what a PID is and how to use it at a basic level, I'd be happy to put one of those together for you. Likes, comments, shares, so on and so forth really helps the video do well, and it also lets me know if people really want to see more tutorials. So I know there's a lot of veterans who watch my channel. Maybe y'all aren't very interested in that sort of stuff. Anyway, let me know if you do want to see more, and let me know if this was helpful to you. I've been Zacargo, this has been fun, and I'll see y'all soon with some more from the depths.